right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Monday, December 4th, 2023 Lackawanna City Council meeting caucus. We'd like to welcome the department heads and anyone in the audience, as well as anyone at home who's happened to be watching. We use the caucus as an opportunity for the council members to discuss various agenda items, ask any questions, and then obviously at the regular meeting, once that's called to order, we'll take a vote accordingly. To that end, the first several items are administrative. We'll bypass those. We'll move right to communications from council. Item number 4, communication from council member Muflahi. Request appropriate speed limit signage be implemented throughout the city of Lackawanna to ensure the awareness and safety of residents, motorists, pedestrians, etc. Council member Muflahi, anything you want to add on that?
No, I believe my request is pretty straightforward. I did fail to include the digital sign that's across the street from Global Concept School. It's pretty handy and it reminds motorists to either slow down or thanks them for driving at the appropriate rate. The current signs that are available are very few and far in between. And at the moment, there's a makeshift sign on Ridge Road, which I don't think is a good look for the city. So I'm hoping to have appropriate signage within city limits to remind motorists of the speed limit.
The history of the speed limit signage in Lackawanna has always been the speed limit is posted at every entrance of the city. But I'll ask, except for those school areas or hospital area, but I'll ask either Commissioner of Public Works or Director of Public Safety, do you want to expound on that at all?
Sure. I know we have to, they're posted at all the entrances to the city, but like you referred to around the schools and certain other areas, if it's reduced or special in certain areas, they are posted. But we do have them like on Abbott in certain areas. If there's specific areas you're talking about, just contact me, give me a list and we'll go over with public safety and just make sure they're appropriate when we put them up.
Commissioner, do you feel it's appropriate that we need any referrals to look further into this, or again, Councilmember Muflahi, do you know of a particular entrance to the city where the sign is down or not present?
Non-existent.
Right?
They're non-existent. And coming off the Skyway, there's no signage.
Well, the Skyway's a different story though, right?
Entering into the Ridge Road area.
I think she means over near the fire hall, maybe coming off from either north
okay.
or south direction. Take a ride. If there's a sign that needs to be put up, we'll put one up. I'll take a ride and take a look at all the entrances and see what we have up there currently.
Okay. And Councilmember Muflahi, what kind of a follow-up would you want on that?
As far as from the departments or myself to them?
No, from the departments to us.
If there's a metric that they already have in place where they already know where designated signs are, there's a list of that. I would love to be privy to where those locations are. Maybe we can use that as a starting point to see if the appropriate signs are in fact implemented.
Very good. All right, anyone else have any, on the council have any questions or any comments on item number 4? If not, then moving on to item number 5, again from Councilmember Muflahi, request the one-way direction on Nason Parkway to switch from the current design to either opening it back up to two-way street or having a one-way entrance changed to South Park Avenue to alleviate traffic congestion at South Park and the Ridge Road intersection. Again, John Wolf or John Kuriak. By way of history, this goes back to I believe the first year of my first term, and there was a study done, to my knowledge, as well as input from our engineers. It might have been CPL and Rick Judah. I don't know if you remember this or not, but it was with the city of, coordinated with the city of Buffalo, and they're remodeling and redesigning the area of the Botanical Gardens. There were also several complaints by residents on Nason Parkway because of the two-way traffic, because excessive speeding, people wanting to avoid the intersection of Ridge Road and South Park and the like there would use Nason Parkway to go to Electric Avenue, and from Electric Avenue to Nason Parkway, east and west. There were several accidents. Cars would go flying by, and mirrors off of cars was a common problem. So after the study and after the lengthy discussion and the give and take from the council and whoever was in charge, and then I believe Mayor Iafallo was involved, it was decided to make it more of a park setting, make it safer for the residents to park there and to live there and to access the botanical gardens, to make it one way, to alleviate the avoidance of the traffic device at Ridge and Abbott, or straight there, Ridge and South Park, so that people were not cutting down, trying to avoid that light and speeding and doing whatever else they did with it, to make it one way going east. And then it seemed to solve a problem, except on occasion when people get stuck there because of the traffic may be heavier at the time. But that's my recollection, and that's a brief history of what I recall. John Wolf?
Yeah, that's the main reason why it went that way. If you turn it around the other way, which again, up to you guys, there's gonna be a ton of traffic going through there. Anyone coming out of this pocket park trying to get to Botanical Gardens, or anyone just, the traffic's gonna probably 5 times, 10 times more than it is now. And the bike path also, the bike path also goes in that direction, as the traffic does now.
And we had numerous residents at those meetings where this was being discussed and contemplated, and they were all in favor of the design that we've eventually implemented. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, are there also traffic cameras in that area?
No,
No,
not from the city, no. Not that I'm aware of. Rick, we didn't put anything up in there. No,
Okay, all right.
nothing. And on occasion, we still get complaints where people come off Ridge and drive the wrong way on the one-way street to avoid the light, to avoid a minute and 30 seconds or whatever they gotta wait for. So, if you wanted to slow it down, you want to keep it safe down there for foot traffic and for bikes, I would leave it as it is. And if you want to get rid of some of the congestion, although I haven't heard many complaints about the congestion on Ridge and South Park since Tony has changed the timing on the light here at the corner, I would leave it as is, but,
All right, thank you. Any other council members have anything they want to say on that issue?
Yeah, I would like to expound on the reason why I initiated this conversation. I knew it wasn't going to be a fix overnight. I intentionally put it on to create a record and to start a conversation. I've driven down Nason Parkway where I visited family or friends and attempted to make a left-hand turn onto South Park, which has probably been one of the most scariest experiences given at the right time. So I figured I'm just gonna make a right on South Park and then figure my way around because it's nearly impossible at certain times of the day. So the entrance coming from Ridge and then traveling east on Nason can be problematic, more so than having it where you enter from South Buffalo, making a right onto Nason Parkway, and then making your way up to Ridge Road. I understand that there are individuals that live on the street that may have had a concern in the past when it was a two-way street, and having a narrow street with two-way traffic can be an issue. But I've also had people complain about the setup, that it isn't conducive to traffic flow, people that do work in South Buffalo and then come into the Lackawanna area to either get home or to other routes, and that it is, the traffic flow is impeded by not being able to use Nason Parkway. Should they have a green light, pun not intended, to use that to get out of the traffic flow? Not always, but is it a safer route? They believe so. So I think it's worth a conversation, and it's worth to bring this up and have not only the department heads here that were part of the alleged study, which I'm not privy to, so please forgive me for my lack of knowledge, but I'm interested to see what the study said. If there is a copy of that, or if we have a record of that, I'd like that. And then we can discuss moving forward on how we can alleviate this issue, because the intersection at South Park is pretty much a one lane. You can't really, you can't make a right-hand turn at a red light at all. That's forbidden. So you're forced to stop about 30 feet from the corner, which there's also parking on Ridge Road, on South Park, alongside the shops. So it's a bit problematic.
And it is, and the 30-foot stop back is to allow emergency vehicles and larger trucks to make those
Absolutely.
turns.
Absolutely.
But just so I understand, are some of the complaints you've heard from people who don't live in Lackawanna but
No.
drive through?
No, they live in Lackawanna and they frequent that intersection, whether they work at Mercy Hospital or work in the South Buffalo area and frequent that strip traveling southbound onto Ridge Road.
Well, the other thing I can say is this was decided, 3 years ago? And there was ample opportunity for the public to have input, and there was, and it was overwhelmingly in favor of doing what was eventually done there. Now, Carl, this is in the second ward. Have you heard any, it's your ward, have you heard any feedback or anything?
No, I haven't heard any complaints. I can't see any problem if the bike lane goes in that direction too, right? So, I mean, you can't have them going in the opposite direction.
That would, could cause some safety issues. I mean, you'd have to change the bike lane the other way too. Again, what, I guess the bottom line is, it's a 3-minute wait. It's 3 minutes.
I mean, this is.
Tops 3 minutes. I don't know if it's 3 minutes. I mean, now, if you're 50 cars back, are you gonna wait 3 to 5 minutes? Yeah, you might wait 3 to 5 minutes, but.
I do see that the ordinance was during, like, right at the brink of COVID, like the meeting that you guys had in regards to it. I believe it was March, excuse me. Like
And there
March
were elements
20th.
of that, Mike?
No, I'm just saying that people were not allowed to participate in the meeting.
Well, that's not true.
So
I
most,
know that's not
from
true.
what I remember, most of the people that lived on Nason were here.
They were here, and they
they
were
okay.
heard. They were pretty vocal.
In
But-
Botanical Gardens, they were supposed to do some readjusting there as far as the park itself, right? Weren't they gonna?
There was supposed to be some kind of walkway down,
Right.
Right.
crossing over Nason, down these stairs,
Right.
across Nason
There
and
is.
into the park. There's an actual walkway now?
Yeah. It's right over.
No, they're talking about crossing
No,
these into the
on
south.
the other
yeah.
side of Nason.
Yeah.
That's what they were talking about.
Oh, the other side of
Supposed to
Nason.
redesign that whole area, so.
All right, well, we'll see where that goes then. Moving on to item number 6, communication from Division Department of Fire Chief requests City Council direct City Clerk to advertise for bids for new firefighting nozzles and hoses for the fire department. Funding is provided by Assistance to Firefighters Grant, sponsored by FEMA. Any council members have any input on that, or again, John?
Self-explanatory.
Okay, anyone have any comments on item number 6? Now moving on to item number 7 from our city controller, because City Council approve ordinance outlining budget transfers necessary to address the costs associated with Lackawanna traffic signal project. City received $250,000 urban initiative funding grant from Erie County. Project was approved by this city council on February 7th, 2022 council meeting. And the ordinance does break down the various funding and the sources so that the city of Lackawanna's contribution is minimal, if I recall that correctly. Anyone have any comments? Any council members have any comments on item number 7? And to that end, if not, Linda, do you have anything you want to set that would help anybody at home as far as clarifications?
No, we just specify the accounts based upon the different funding sources to keep it easier for tracking the costs.
And the cities, you remember what the city's funding input contribution is, if anything?
Well, we kind of estimated that it would probably be about 30,000.
Oh, 30,000. Okay. All right, again, any council members have any comments on item number 7?
I
Yes.
do, oh,
Go ahead, no?
I just wanted to thank the legislator for providing the 250, John Gilmore, he provided that, I believe in 2021.
It was, yeah,
Yeah,
it's a while ago.
and then the rest of the funding was as a means of Tim Kennedy's hard work and initiative to bring that to the city. And then that left us with a very minimal cost, so I'm very grateful to both of them. But I do have a question. Do we have I know the 705 is an estimate. Do we have any actual concrete bids or estimates of how we will, or what we will be facing cost-wise?
We do from CPL.
Oh, perfect. So is this a concrete number? I mean, concrete in a sense of this is the ideal amount that we'll be spending.
So Linda can chime in on one part of this, but essentially what we put into the DASNY grant process was an estimate of $695,000 from CPL. Deduct the $250,000 from the urban initiative. The balance was what Tim put before Senate Finance.
Mhm.
The 30,000 is a today
Yeah.
projection of what we think might be needed. So it's a great point to raise. It is what it is right now. Who knows what it'll be, at that time. But the hard estimates that were used to get the 425 from the state were right from CPL estimates.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Yeah, and Mr. Council President, just if I can have a minute, just because you asked for public clarification. What seems like a real simple and obvious process, get a signal light up at Lackawanna, is not very simple. And I want the public and everyone here to appreciate everything that went into this, whether it be from the city, from the state, or from the county. In order to even get the grant, the conversation that the mayor had, that the council member had with Senator Kennedy was great. We went through a pretty extensive application process with Senate Finance. We had to put together a business case that included traffic, that included population density, that included changes in the economic development activity of that area. And only then, when that application was approved with that detail, did it move, and that was in July. Then it moved from July to a Senate Finance review in August. And then ultimately in October, we got the DASNY letter. So there were several steps involved beyond the conversation to get to that point. And it not only involved CPL, but it involved city employees, the staff of Senator Kennedy. So there was a lot involved in what looks like an obvious process, but it's a pretty complicated endeavor. Now, hopefully, we're on the easier end of this. DASNY is replicating a lot of the questions that we thought we answered, early on, but that's just the DASNY process. But hopefully we'll be in good shape from here. But it was a pretty extensive and competitive process for that money.
And I think the mayor needs to be thanked for her efforts.
No question.
Shaking the trees to have the dollars there. But, and I know Council Member Moretti was intimately involved in that particular light situation and knows for a fact that when the lights were removed, not only were the lights removed, but the infrastructure for the lights,
Exactly.
the electronics were removed, requiring a reestablishment, reinventing of the wheel, so to speak.
That's correct.
Councilman Moretti, you had a comment?
Yeah, my question is where do we stand on this project now? If I remember correctly, in the past couple months, that parts have been ordered, and how are we moving ahead on this? And is there any timetable about getting this light put in?
That I don't have an answer to. That would, John, I don't know if that's something you and Tony have talked about. That I don't have any information on.
No, nothing. Tony has not expressed anything to me, any timeframes or anything like that. I know he's been handling this project since he started on it, and he's in charge of this, but I haven't heard.
We'll have to
any
get you an
timeframes.
update, but as far as the financing piece of it, and from DASNY's perspective, as long as we check the boxes on the proof points that they ask for, then it becomes on us it's a spend and reimburse grant. So really, it's in our hands. I do know that we've gotten some bills from CPL for early design, but that's very minimal. We'll have to get with Tony to find out where the ordering of the actual parts and infrastructure are.
Very good. Well, we're a lot farther ahead than with the funding having been identified than we were.
No question.
You know, and so thank you all for your involvement. Unless there's anything else, move on to.
Yeah, I'd just like to say,
Yes.
I'm glad we got the funding, and the city's not liable for, 700,000 taxpayers of Lackawanna. When city council voted to take them all out. And now we'll probably have to put another one in down the road, you know what I'm saying? So I'm glad we got the funding, and the 30,000, just the estimate, might even be less than that, who knows, so.
Yeah, it might very well be.
So that's the main thing. I wasn't too happy about this project going forward. We could have spent $700,000, a lot of different areas in the city, but I'm just glad we got the funding,
Yeah,
that's the main thing. So-
And the funding is very helpful. And just one other point, for Councilmember Muflahi and then Councilmember John Ingram, this was a very necessary item for many people in that area of our first ward for safety purposes.
Definitely.
And as a result of that, I think this will be a very well endeavored outcome and something that's been needed for a long time. We are seeing a little bit more growth in our city and in our first ward. And this would help tremendously with traffic and pedestrian traffic in that area. So I think it's a win-win for all of us, especially for the people in the first ward. So thanks to Councilmember Muflahi and then Councilmember Ingram for working so hard towards that. Anything else? If not, moving on to item number 8, communication from our city controller advises the city council the following retirements. Greg Belagamba, firefighter, will retire this month. Christopher Drewsbick, foreman, DPW, retired in March. James Judd, lieutenant, fire department, retired in April. Marguerite Jackson, account clerk typist, treasurer's office. July retirement of this year. Jeffrey Gowell, captain, fire department, effective July of this year. And David Joyce, police officer, effective August 19th. And best wishes to them, health and happiness on their retirement, and Godspeed for their enjoyment. Anyone have any comments on item number 8? Now moving on to business registrations. Fulvio Stampone, Cloud9 Dispensary, another application for a cannabis retail shop at 2540 Hamburg Turnpike. Now, I think the same issue exists with this that existed with the other application on Abbott Road, and that is, there was an expression of a concern that neither of those entities received a dispensary license from the state of New York. However, I thought the way the law was written that the municipality where these dispensaries were going to be located needed to approve those locations before the state would issue a certificate, but I'm not even sure. Rick, do you have any clarification on that?
That I don't know, but if you're gonna entertain this, I would make it subject to his receipt of a New York State license. I'm sure he can't operate without one. So I don't see it as a major concern, but to err on the side of caution, I would, if you're gonna entertain it and pass it, I would make it subject to proof that he's licensed with, by the state of New York. I also met with several representatives of the city today, and we talked about putting before the council a local law or an ordinance to at least control the
Number of locations?
the number of locations and some other things associated with cannabis retail shops. So we'll be doing that. I would suggest in the meantime that the council may want to entertain a 90-day moratorium until we can get that law in place and on the books.
Would a motion for a moratorium be appropriate at tonight's meeting?
I think you could waive the rules or make it as part of this, but yes.
If I may.
Or you could do it for the next agenda if you want.
Yeah.
I have a copy of the Planning and Development Board meeting from October 25th, where he presented in front of the Planning Board. And within the discussion, it reads that New York State requires the municipality to approve the business license first, and then New York State issues the license.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
So instead of them handing out licenses and then ultimately be rejected by the city. So I guess Mr. Stampone has his paperwork in order, but then the decision lies on us whether or not we do want to provide him with a business license.
I can't speak for this because I wasn't at that planning board meeting, but I did, maybe Chuck can speak a little bit about it from development, but I understand he pretty much complies with the state requirements, and he's put together a pretty good business plan that meets the state requirements.
And he is.
And the location's actually probably in an area where we, we
Exactly.
want those types of businesses.
That's
Right,
exactly
so-
what I was gonna say, Rick.
So we wouldn't require, whether it's Mr. Stampone or anyone else, we wouldn't require the license through the state. We have a decision to make without that.
Right.
So we can either table it or vote on it. Like, we're not bound, it's not contingent on him having the New York State license, I guess is the point that I'm
Right.
making, right?
Okay,
But he cannot get the New York State license until
Without
that.
us.
right.
Correct.
Right, so this is the first step for him to ultimately be licensed, which he could still be ultimately rejected, but
Right.
in order to be issued that license, we would have to give him the
But
okay
that-
from here.
That raises another issue, and
By the
before I
way-
forget this.
Okay, because before I
Because
forget.
normally, when somebody submits a business registration to the clerk's office, they're automatically granted a temporary business license to open. So I think we as a council maybe should look at that policy for the future, because I don't think they should be granted a temporary license,
At least with respect to cannabis or
Right.
other
especially in regards to
appropriate type
cannabis.
thing. By the way, I just want to point out that with respect to the prior issue we had with the Abbott Road location,
Yes.
somebody who wanted to come in and do a, what do they call
Farmers
it?
market
A showcase of some kind at Yeti Bay, that was rejected by the state.
Oh, it was,
There you go.
okay.
The
So that's
state,
all our
just so
problem.
you know, the state will not allow you to mix marijuana with liquor, tobacco, vape shops. They don't want that because it's probably too hard to police. When you think about it, if a young kid comes in and he wants to get a vape cartridge, he doesn't, they don't really want him being exposed to the same places that are selling or
But
dispensing
isn't the
marijuana.
age requirement the same across the board?
I don't know what it is, but
So-
you can't buy cigarettes or cigars and marijuana in the same type of establishment.
Got it.
Okay, that's important to
That's
know.
So
really-
is the whole pop-up model rejected by the state? Is that what's ultimately being rejected, or?
All I know is that particular location was rejected, and the reason set forth was because of the fact that there were other tobacco products available
To
there.
answer your question, Councilmember Muflahi, the state does not prohibit the pop-ups. That was their, I don't know if it
Oh,
was
yeah,
their
that was-
suggestion,
That-
but they're
Yeah.
very supportive of that
Right.
because of the delay in the dispensaries opening.
Right,
That's right.
and that was only a temporary thing that may end December 31st, I believe. So,
Okay, and for the council, at this time, I would ask that we, for the next agenda, ask our city clerk to put on a request to entertain a 90-day moratorium on cannabis dispensary shops in Lackawanna until we have a chance to pass legislation directing where they're allowed and what other parameters may be established or might be important to have it on the books, so. And then that, of course, that begs the question, what do we do in the meantime with Mr. Stampone? And maybe it might be
Well,
worthwhile tabling it?
well, I'll just tell you this, based on what I heard today, and again, Chuck might want to intercede here. Based on what I saw today, even if we pass a local law, the chances are this establishment's going to fall within the parameters of what we pass.
He's in the right zoning area. He's got a very detailed plan, secure, safe. It's strictly related to cannabis dispensary. He's checked all the boxes plus some. So assuming everything went forward, even to Rick's point, even with local law and what have you, he probably will pass. Like he would pass the state's review and he should be fine.
Right.
So he's done more than his compliance share.
But his licensing is contingent.
Correct.
On our
Correct.
approval here.
Yes, correct. But just for your peace of mind,
Mhm.
he's not a fly-by-night request. It's a very, very detailed, thorough request.
So I guess maybe I can add, because we were saying to limit the numbers of how many. So since New York State is only issuing licenses to people or to businesses that we approve, we are sort of limiting our numbers in retrospect, because if we're not approving them here, they're not getting licensed at the state level.
But the basis for disapproval, I think, has to have a solid foundation. It can't be without legislation on the books limiting the number and location.
Correct.
We'd be hard pressed to deny them because we didn't opt out of the welcoming dispensaries in the first place. So we, if they were to sue us, they might be able to have a court grant them the right to open, because we can't legitimately articulate a reason to not allow them to open a certain area. So we can't by councilmanic action just deny, my opinion, deny. I don't know, Rick.
You can't limit it to just say, we only want 6 facilities in the entire city or anything like
You
that.
can't do that.
Right. So, but the state allows us to impose reasonable regulations as to where they will be, as long as you don't make it too overly burdensome for them to open.
So you'd be looking about at places like you don't want them too close to each other. You don't want them near schools, community centers, churches,
Yeah, I
those
think the
types of things.
state already created that framework.
Exactly.
Right.
And a lot of the municipalities, like West Seneca, for
Are following
example, are following that same rule. So we unfortunately are in a position where we've had 2 development directors come and go that dabbled in this and left. So we're kind of chasing a little bit, but we are trying to close that gap very quickly.
That's why we're depending on you, Chuck.
Thanks.
So my question would be then, do we just follow the state's bylaws? Or can we add on to that?
Why couldn't we make it 1,000 feet from a school?
That's
You
my
could.
thing.
That's-
If the
you
state
could.
says
You could.
250, can you expand it
Yes.
to it?
Yes,
As long as it's reasonable.
All right,
as
so
long as
then
it's
you're gonna
reasonable.
limit it
You can't
anyways.
make it less than 250.
As long
Right.
as somebody can't come in and say, hey, there's no place in the city that I can open based on this restriction.
Right.
You're gonna be
Okay.
hard pressed to
So
defend
you're
that.
gonna get your limitation on it anyways, and
It-
that's what you
it-
guys are, that's what we're looking
Exactly.
for.
And so if you use Ridge Road as an example, between churches, schools, community centers and so on, whatever reasonable distance everybody comes up with, by default, you are narrowing and limiting that amount of activity.
So what would the moratorium create today?
For us to have time to draw legislation to pass regulating dispensaries in Lackawanna.
Where they're gonna be located.
Because right now,
Because if
Amira,
you
we don't have,
Right.
so beyond Stampone's situation, if you had another one come in, you don't have anything, this body doesn't have anything, the city doesn't have anything to base it on. So we
So in
really,
addition to that, are we tabling this as well?
I don't think there should be, in my opinion, based on what Chuck said and what Rick said, I don't think there's a need to table it. I think we could have an up or down vote on it.
So I would like to ask, is a moratorium even required, considering he can't open up tomorrow anyways, because he doesn't have the New York State license?
The moratorium wouldn't affect
It
him.
doesn't affect him
Does-
at all?
it affects the next guy who wants to apply within 500
The
feet or 1,000
application's
feet of
received
him.
after today.
Right.
And we're only setting it at 90 days, is that a
Well,
limitation?
That's enough time,
We don't need to do the moratorium today, we can do it at
Yeah.
the next meeting.
right, right. And then
In fact,
by then
that's
you
what we
may,
asked.
you may want to do a 60-day moratorium. I don't know, but
Yeah.
But you do need time to have the
Right.
dialogue and make sure that everybody understands it and buys into it and is in agreement. And unfortunately, that doesn't exist right now.
Right.
Very good.
One other thing, that Monday the state settled with the people that were suing that caused the
Opioid?
injunction.
the veterans and things like that.
Everything stopped. They weren't giving out any license. Disabled veterans were suing and some
Oh,
other
okay.
people that they were discriminated against because they didn't have a federal record
Yeah.
to get a license. So the state's more or less buying them off. So now I think the floodgates are gonna open, with the licenses and
Could very well
that. I don't
be.
know, I think before they apply for a license, they need a building, need a,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
I mean, that's the main
That's
thing.
it.
So,
Correct.
You need a location.
right, so that's another thing, if we put a moratorium, then, we'll have, dissuade people from getting a building, you know what I'm saying?
Well, it would allow us to do our job and put up a
Right.
legislation that controls it. That's all that does, is just delay an up or down vote on each application that's coming. All right, unless there's anything else on that one. I did ask several items to be placed on the agenda under table items. We have some of these are 60 days old. Any 90-day-old table items automatically fail, so I thought putting the 3 that we have on for discussion or to consider taking off the table, if it's anyone's desire to do that. The first item, it was the sale of the 5 properties to the LHDC, which the LHDC and the county were supposed to get back, I believe, Chuck, was it to you and Mayor I follow regarding their proposal to substitute lots where they're going to actually pay taxes on versus the 2 or 3 lots that they're going to tax exempt.
Your recollection is correct. I never received anything. I'd have to check with the mayor if she did. My assumption is if she would have got something, she would have let me know.
So that's dead for the time being, I guess, or it's died its natural death.
dead. Yeah. Okay, so we don't need to consider that.
Right.
Business registration request that we table regarding Rage Gym at 126 Cleveland Avenue. I had several issues and some questions regarding the initial approval by the planning or zoning boards allowing this to go in, but my concerns were addressed very well by the owner, Mr. Nowak, regarding parking and hours and insurance, naming the city as an additional insured. And he answered all those questions. He's willing to restrict the hours, which originally intended from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m., 6 days a week. So there'd be a constant, if his business is successful, which we hope it is, a constant flow, but of traffic and parking and individuals on that particular parcel of property. But he presented a proposal that would not allow, it would help prevent the overcrowding, any kind of parking problems that might arise. It'll be adequately spaced between the hourly usage of that particular location. So he answered my questions. I thought the young man did a very fine job. Anyone else wish to comment on this?
I have a question for you. You mentioned having the city of Lackawanna as an added insured party.
Yeah.
What was his response to that?
He wouldn't talk to his insurance company. They agreed to it. And the reason I asked for that was because this is a new concept. It's starting to become popular throughout the country. And what it is it's although the gym is owned by an individual or a corporation, whoever it may be, it's unsupervised. So somebody could go in there, if you pay the hourly fee, there's a pass code they use to get in. They use the equipment for an hour or 2 hours, whatever they contract with, and then they leave. Most other gyms are supervised. So the question I had, the concern I had was, well, if somebody goes to that gym, nobody's on the premises but the user, and that person experiences an accident or worse, death. The city, knowing that it's unsupervised location and activity, might create, in my opinion, a liability to the city because we allow the business concept to go forward by issuing a business certificate. So I thought having the city named as an additional insured might help that situation.
So he was able to provide proof of that?
He doesn't have the certificate yet. The insurance company is working on the quote. He has to pay the fee, but they did indicate to him, based on his representation, that it would include the city as an additional insured. So if this is to pass, my recommendation would be contingent on receipt of the insurance certificate.
I just wanted to point one thing out,
Yes.
Council President. Under our general ordinance and business registrations, if you do approve any business registration, you can revoke it at any time. The individual would be entitled to a hearing or stay in court, so to speak, but just so you know, any business registration that's approved can be revoked.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions on that? If not, then the only other item that was tabled, to my knowledge, is the business registration, Buffalo Best Auto Sales, 3254 South Park. Councilman Sirdike, you had asked that be tabled. I don't know if there was any movement on it in your opinion.
Yes, well, I went and talked to the gentleman a couple times, and he's just gonna repair cars there. He said he's not selling any. He might sell one or two there, but I mean, I went by there yesterday, there was 14 cars there. I don't know what's going on.
Well, yeah.
But
Were they licensed?
they had plates on them.
Not all of them.
No, not all of them. I didn't know.
And I looked at the minutes of the zoning meetings and the
Yeah.
planning board meetings, and there seems to be some confusion there. Now, Rick, the newest owner is a lessee of the location, yet he applied, if I understand correctly, for a variance to allow for 10 cars to be sold instead of just 5, in place of the U-Hauls that were originally supposed to be there, but his being a tenant or a lessee, doesn't he need an ownership interest to ask for a property variance?
No, if he's just like, if you're gonna open a marijuana dispensary and you wanna be licensed there, you don't have to be the owner of the building, you can be a tenant. So I think it's the same principle. You're talking a use variance though, right? You're not talking a,
It's not clear from the minutes if it was a use variance.
I think it's a use variance because he was gonna be there selling or renting
U-Hauls.
U-Hauls. Yeah.
But the person who got the okay initially then turned around and leased it to the newest individual, so.
I mean, I'm working on a situation now with a billboard company where they're applying in Buffalo for a use variance. So it's the tenant that's actually applying for the variance.
Okay,
So
so I don't know if there's anything needed to look further into this, or you want to entertain it today?
I would like to entertain and give the guy a chance. I mean, like our lawyer says, that's why I asked him today about what our choices are as far as if it turns into a mess, you know, that we'll have a hearing to revoke it. So,
Okay.
I mean, the guy's doing a good job over there. His shop's immaculate. He's got all the tools hung out.
I've seen it, yeah.
somebody should just remind them of what was actually approved at the planning board or the zoning board so that,
There was a privacy wall
Right.
that was required to be
Okay.
constructed too, right?
Because the owner of the building never came back to the planning board or zoning board to get the U-Hauls removed and all that. I don't think, did you read that?
He never went back, and nor did the new lessee, the new tenant there, go back to the zoning board to exchange the U-Haul concept for the 5 additional cars.
Right.
then I would suggest you refer it to code enforcement for review of the planning board minutes. And any, licensing or anything else that might be necessary to comply with what they approved.
You said to the building inspectors?
Or make a conditional approval.
Yeah. We had conditions to that?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was my.
Condition that he comply with any requirements instituted by the planning or zoning board at the time they issued the, either the special use permit or the variance.
All right,
That sounds.
that sounds good. Anyone else?
You got that, Chris?
I do recall him presiding in front of the zoning at that, oh my God, this is.
Yeah,
Back in
you and me were there,
summertime.
right?
Yeah.
And I believe that they left it as is, and they said if you don't want to use the U-Hauls, 5 U-Hauls, then you just don't, but we're not removing it and
Right.
adding additional vehicles, so they left it as is. So I don't know if he's entertained anything new between then and today. We're going back like 6 months, possibly longer.
Is that the tenant you're speaking of?
Yeah, the new individual who's applying for the
Okay,
business license today.
all right.
But he is open and operated, correct?
He is.
Kevin, and
Yeah.
he has no issues,
No.
other than the vehicles that you said were kind of out of sync with what was agreed upon?
Well,
But they were for repairs?
I don't know.
Oh, okay, okay.
There's different vehicles there all the time, right?
There's a large number of vehicles, it's over 5.
Mhm.
Right.
Whether they're there for repairs or there because they're sold, there is a display of vehicles fronting South Park that would appear to me to be being shown for sale. Now, there are times when there's, a helter-skelter of vehicles parked every which way. So I really don't know. It'll be up, I think, to the building inspectors to determine whether or not there's any violation or if in fact he's in compliance with the planning and zoning requirements.
So what is our course of action today?
Well, I might suggest that we pass this, or give him the certificate, but condition it on his compliance with planning and zoning restrictions.
Okay.
Right, any conditions dictated by, at the time of the approval from the planning board or the zoning board?
Okay, anyone else?
Just to go back to the one prior, the gym, are we voting on that contingent on the added insured?
Yeah.
Okay. Considering, well, let me ask, I guess differently, do you mind if I go back to that? Because I do have a few more questions
Which one?
about the gym.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Has there been a case in the past where City of Lackawanna was an added insured on any of the businesses that we required?
I can't speak to that. Grace, can you speak to that?
No, I cannot.
I don't know. We really need to refurbish or institute some kind of a cross-referencing mechanism in the clerk's office to be able to record all of these so that we know.
Sometimes we do that. It's usually more if we're involved in the event. You know
If
what I
there's like
mean?
a community event and we're just an
Yeah,
underwriter,
let's,
right?
yeah.
Like at the stadium or something, we're
Right.
using our facility,
You
we'll
know?
put City of Lackawanna as an
Right, which
additional
makes
insured.
sense, but in this situation, he can operate this business for years. And how do we ensure that, how do we make sure that we are consistently, like.
Unless somebody diaries it and,
Right, and we.
After the first
Because he
year.
can cancel it the next day after he shows us the policy.
Yeah, he can, but
but at least the
We're on
requirement
the
was
record
there
that-
and it was conditioned and it was passed and
we're on the record of it requiring that for him to continue in business. It comes to our attention that that's no longer the circumstance. He's in violation of the requirement. We have a basis to rescind his business certificate.
What if it's too late and we're in litigation?
well,
We're gonna get sued anyways.
Yeah.
Right?
yeah.
And I really don't feel good about
The
this.
cities, the municipalities are always a party.
You're on the list no matter what.
There was a matter in front of the planning board several months ago where somebody was opening a skating, indoor skate
Mhm,
skate park.
right.
And I saw one of the conditions of the planning board was that they have insurance naming the city, and I didn't think it's appropriate to ask for that, but I don't think it was necessary. Because we certainly had nothing to do with we didn't take it upon ourselves to supervise it, to do anything associated with it. So I told code enforcement, if the guy doesn't provide it, it's his own problem, but like I said, that was the only other instance that I could recall, other than like when we do our lawn fates, or we did the thing this year. What was the thing on Ridge Road?
Taste the bite of
Yeah.
Lackawanna.
Yeah, where a lot of times we'll have vendors name us as additional insured or something like that. But you're right, it's not always easy to enforce, but then again, the law basically says if we're not supervising it or directly involved in it and dictating how it's done, we don't have an obligation, or we don't have a responsibility for it. Are we gonna get sued? We always get sued, but it's just.
Okay, anyone else on that item? If not, then I will formally call to order our December 4th, 2023 meeting. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge
Allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The city clerk, you can take it.
LeBlanc,
Present.
Anderson, Moretti,
Here.
Sirdike,
Brother.
Morano,
Here.
Law Department,
Here.
Development Acting,
Here.
Public Works,
Here.
Public Safety,
Here.
Comptroller,
Here.
Public Information,
Here.
Recreation has been excused. Hearings from citizens,
Sandra Hines.
Hello.
Hello.
So I'm back up here, 3 months later, about 37 Nelson Place. I have brought it to code enforcement's attention twice again in November. There's still a major issue there. The roach infestation is horrible. I did bring up pictures this time. When I leave for work in the morning, I find them dead in the snow. It was twice when we did have the snow. I have pictures there. I brought back the other pictures too, going back to the summertime, of the roaches that are just found outside alone. It was very concerning when I did call up on November 15th, spoke with Wanda Turner in code enforcement, because it was raining that day, told her everything that's going on. Okay, my guys will get on it. Great, thank you. On November 30th again, found them dead in the snow, called up, talked to Steve Malone, wasn't aware of anything.
Is there an owner that lives there, or is it tenants?
I
It's tenants,
own
right?
33 Nelson.
Okay,
There's 2 families at 37
and
Nelson.
they're both tenants, right?
So I also do have the violations that they received in September, which great, I'm glad that code enforcement is following up. But they seem to allow the owner time to actually exterminate, and in the email that was provided, he didn't exterminate until October 11th. That's over a month later. So I want to know too, like what type of follow-up was done, like with the courts. It says that there will be action if it's not completed within 5 days of the violation. So that's one of my biggest questions about it. I do have them papers here if anybody wants to review it too. And I did speak with the neighbors on my street. This is not a struggling family that lives there. This isn't, they're tenants. This is a business that's being run there. This is a business that the business owner, it's his income. That's why I'm calling it a business. It's his income. He does not live there, he does not care. He is a slumlord. So he's neglectful. There's other violations, of course, I can't prove that. I'm not code enforcement, I'm not up to date on all the codes and everything, but I noticed that there was a violation about his garage alone. That's not repaired, torn down, or replaced, like it said in the violations from 2 or 3 years ago. The dogs also. I just happened to notice it and I recorded on my phone. The upstairs tenants still have their dogs, which says in the email that the owner was not aware of it. Well, you're not at your property. You're neglectful. You don't maintain anything. And the city still seems to allow this to happen. I don't know where else to go. If I talk to code enforcement, how many times do I gotta make a phone call until somebody is actually following up on it, doing something about it?
Okay, a couple things. I'm sorry you're still experiencing that problem. We did have at least 2 meetings with the mayor and with enforcement regarding this issue. You raised somewhat of a sensitive issue regarding the follow-up through the courts because we have no jurisdiction there. The legal system is a third branch of government and they're separate and distinct from whatever we can do here. we can, it's like a police officer can issue a ticket, a summons, it then goes to court, and what the judges do at that point in time is beyond the council's control, it's beyond the mayor's control, it's beyond the police control.
But if they stay violating, shouldn't it be through the court system?
It absolutely should be enforced through the court system. You're absolutely right, I agree.
I don't understand why it's not. And this is health and safety issues. This isn't just loud noise after 11 o'clock. I can't use my driveway. I can't even barely use my side door, walk out my side door.
Have you contacted the Department of Health? I'm just curious.
Yes.
Have you?
Yeah, and they said that there is a case, but it's a follow-up. We'll get back to you. This is numerous phone calls and from the city also. It's in progress. We'll call you back, or I'm not getting anywhere.
Yeah.
I'm not. I mean, I own my house. I can't just say, you know what, I'm moving. I can't. What am I gonna do?
No, but you don't have to make excuses, we understand. We're on your side. Rick, do you have any follow-up on this? Has there been anything further on this item, any suggestions?
After, I don't want you to put your phone number on the record, but you can give me your phone number and. we'll
I've got it
follow
here
up.
on the,
You got it?
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, and also, I do have signatures from the other neighbors that they are concerned about this too. This isn't just,
I'll talk to code enforcement tomorrow and you will get a call tomorrow from
and
us.
I will stay on the record, Steve Malone that called me on the 30th, I swear that was like the most honest conversation I actually had from somebody regarding this issue in the past 3 months.
From Steve?
Yes.
Okay.
That was the most honest conversation. Everybody else, I'll get back to you. It's a process.
No, we'll speed
That's
up
just
that
the
process. Okay, that's really what needs to be done here.
Right.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
John, did you know anything more about this?
I just talked to Wanda about the dog issue. They're coming to court for the dog as well, but like so many times, these things get put off for 6, 8, 9 months. They get them postponed, they get them.
Yeah.
I hate even looking at the poor girl because I wish we could do more at this point. Hopefully Rick and
We'll take care of
and
it.
code enforcement can push the envelope, because it goes back to what we've talked about for the last 4 years. Biggest problem in our city is landlords. They don't care. Not all of them. Obviously, there's great landlords out there too, but the problems we have, the biggest problems we have with drugs, with this, is the landlords don't care.
Sure.
Or slumlords.
Now, Senator, we're not trying to put you off. I mean, we did do the follow-up on this. There was a work session with the mayor, and, these are very.
I know this is
hurtful
like
things.
more of a detailed answer, and if, I get the follow-up phone call tomorrow, I'll have a better discussion. But when does it get to the point to where a house needs to be shut down for health and safety?
Right.
Yeah.
Especially that, I don't understand about how do 2 families live like this? If they are being found dead outside, it's gotta be horrible inside, if they're coming outside into the snow.
I agree. All right. We'll follow up, so only I can tell you. Mr. Ingram.
I'll answer number 5, by Nathan Parkway. I was here when the residents came and complained about Nathan Parkway, and they wanted it done the way it is done right now. I also catch the bus a lot, and sometimes I self-park. By that being the way it is now, it's a lot safer than what it used to be. Because it was horrendous. It was very bad. And when we had the meeting in this chamber here, it was full of residents that acted, and everybody knew about it. And then they had a chance to come speak against it, for it, whatever. And the residents that lived there came and they were very vocal about why they wanted that done. And on more than one occasion, if it hadn't been done, people were doing stuff with a lot of accidents. And then I want to talk about number 7. I want to thank Ms. Kennedy and Gilmer for what they did, and the mayor, what they did. But I remember when they took the lights out, I was here. I spoke on it. And right after they put when they took down the lights, speed was coming like, they were speeding like it was going like they thought it was a racetrack. I'm never forget watching two young boys almost get hit. We grabbed one. One boy went across the street and his little brother ran and grabbed, and they literally pulled him back, and the car was speeding so fast. And we kept, and when we asked why would you take the light from Lackawanna and whatever, the answer was not. I'm not gonna repeat what the answer was said, but it was not a good answer for about the resident about Ward 1. I said, we have come a long way with the help of this council. Things have changed with help of new leadership, whatever. But I was here for that. And it wasn't pretty when it came about Ward 1 or anything. So I just hope, I'm glad that we finally got dollars that we can do something. I'm glad we have a board that we can at least talk about it, and something is getting done. So I thank you. But I know a lot of you wasn't here for that, and it was horrendous. But again, I thank you for what y'all doing.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. All right, approval of minutes.
Approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of November 20th, 2023.
Morano moves to adopt minutes regular meeting of November 20th, 2023 is written.
Maflahe seconds.
Motion by Morano, second by Maflahe, to adopt minutes of the regular meeting of November 20th, 2023 as written. Maflahe?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Moretti?
Yes.
Sirdike?
Yes.
Morano?
Yes.
Carried 5-0. Departmental reports 1 through 3.
Morano moves to receive and file departmental reports 1 through 3 inclusive.
Moretti second.
Motion by Morano, second by Moretti, to receive and file departmental reports 1 through 3 inclusive. Maflahe?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Moretti?
Yes.
Sirdike?
Yes.
Morano?
Yes.
Carried 5-0. Communications from the council. Councilmember Maflahe requests that appropriate speed limit signage be implemented throughout the city of Lackawanna to ensure the awareness and safety of the residents, motorists, and pedestrians.
Morano moves to,
Go ahead.
Morano moves to receive and file, refer to Director of Public Safety, Commissioner of Public Works, and the Law Department.
Maflahe.
Anderson.
Thank you. You're good.
Motion by Morano, second by Anderson, to receive and file, refer to Director of Public Safety, Commissioner of Public Works, and Law Department. Maflahe?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Moretti?
Yes.
Sirdike?
Yes.
Morano?
Yes.
Carried 5-0. Councilmember Maflahe requests that the one-way direction on Nason Parkway be switched from the current design to either opening it back up to be a two-way street or having the one-way entrance changed to South Park Avenue. This would alleviate the traffic congestion at the South Park and Ridge Road intersection.
Maflahe moves to receive and file.
Is there a second?
Second.
Sirdike seconds.
Motion by Maflahe, second by Sirdike, to receive and file. Maflahe?
Yes.
Anderson?
No.
Moretti?
No.
Sirdike?
Yes.
Morano?
No. Motion failed, 2 votes.
3-2.
4,
3-2.
3, yes.
Communication from division department heads. Fire chief requests the city council to direct the city clerk to advertise for bids for new firefighting nozzles and hoses for the fire department. The funding is provided by an Assistance to Firefighters grant sponsored by FEMA.
Maflahe moves to receive and file, direct city clerk to advertise for bids.
Moretti second.
Motion by Maflahe, second by Moretti, to receive and file, direct city clerk to advertise for bids. Maflahe?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Moretti?
Yes.
Sirdike?
Yes.
Morano?
Yes.
Carried 5-0. City Comptroller requests the City Council approve the ordinance outlining the budget transfers necessary to address the costs associated with the Lackawanna traffic signal project. The city has already received the $250,000 Urban Initiative funding grant from Erie County. This project was approved by council at the February 7th, 2022 council meeting.
Maflahe moves to receive and file and act on ordinance.
Anderson seconds.
Motion by Maflahe, second by Anderson, to receive and file, act on ordinance. Maflahe?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Moretti?
Yes.
Sirdike?
Yes.
Morano?
Yes.
Carried 5-0. 7A, an ordinance amending the 2023-2024 budget ordinance, adding a total of $705,000 to the budget codes established for the Lackawanna traffic signal project. The three codes are for the Lackawanna traffic signal, which is the city's portion of $30,000, the Lackawanna traffic signal, which is the DASNY grant for $425,000, and the Lackawanna traffic signal, the urban initiative funding in the amount of $250,000.
Maflahe moves to adopt ordinance as written.
Anderson seconds.
Motion by Maflahe, second by Anderson, to adopt ordinance as written. Maflahe?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Moretti?
Yes.
Sirdike?
Yes.
Morano?
Yes.
Carried 5-0. The city controller advises the city council of the following retirements. Greg Bellegama, firefighter, retired December 24th of 2022. Christopher Drewsbeck, foreman, DPW, retired March 27th, 2023. James Judd, lieutenant, fire department, retired effective April 29th, 2023. Marguerite Jackson, account clerk, typist, treasurer's office, retired effective July 29th, 2023. Jeffrey Gowell, captain of the fire department, retired effective July 29th, 2023. And David Joyce, police officer, retired effective August 19th, 2023.
Morano moves to receive and file 8A through 8F inclusive with the thanks to the city for the many years of service expended by each of the retiring individuals. Godspeed to them.
Moretti second.
Moved by Morano, second by Moretti, to receive and file 8A through 8F inclusive with the thanks for the many years of service of these employees.
You gotta call for the vote.
I know, I'm sorry. Maflahe?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Moretti?
Yes.
Sirdike?
Yes.
Morano?
Yes.
Carried 5-0. Business registration for Fulvio Stampone, Cloud9 Dispensary LLC, 2540 Hamburg Turnpike, adult use cannabis retail shop.
Morano moves to approve the business registration and accept the business registration form condition on state approval.
Moretti second.
I have a question. I know it's not open for discussion.
It is open for
Can
discussion.
it be,
Yep.
can we put that on? You said pending the state
Well, I
approval?
added it if somebody wants to,
Because I guess based on the conversation we had, it's either we vote yes or not. It's not up to us.
this is my motion. I'm including the language condition on state approval. Is there a second?
Moretti second.
Moretti seconded.
Motion by Morano, second by Moretti, to approve business registration condition on state approval. Maflahe?
No.
Anderson?
Yes.
Moretti?
Yes.
Sirdike?
Yes.
Morano?
Yes.
Carried 4-0.
4-1.
4-1.
4-1, sorry. Tabled items?
As indicated, item number 1 failed of its own time period, so there's no need to go into that. Morano moves to remove item number 2, business registration, reps of Rage Gym, 126 Cleveland Avenue, from the table.
Second.
Motion by Morano, second by Sirdike, to remove registration reps of Rage Gym, 126 Cleveland Avenue from the table.
Take the vote.
Oh, Maflahe?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Moretti?
Yes.
Sirdike?
Yes.
Morano?
Yes.
Carried 5-0.
Morano moves to issue a business certificate to reps of Rage Gym, 126 Cleveland Avenue, contingent on appropriate insurance certificates.
Anderson seconds.
Motion by Morano, second by Anderson to approve business registration contingent upon receipt of the insurance certificate. Maflahe?
No.
Anderson?
Yes.
Moretti?
Yes.
Sirdike?
Yes.
Morano?
Yes.
Carried 4-1.
Morano moves to remove business registration application, Buffalo Best Auto Sales, 3254 South Park Avenue, from the table.
Second.
Motion by Morano, second by Sirdike to remove Buffalo Best Auto Sales, 3254 South Park Avenue from the table. Maflahe?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Moretti?
Yes.
Sirdike?
Yes.
Morano?
Yes.
Carried 5-0.
Morano moves to issue the business certificate to Buffalo Best Auto Sales, 3254 South Park Avenue, conditioned on compliance with the planning and zoning restrictions and conditions as indicated by the planning and zoning boards.
Second, Sirdike.
Motion by Morano, second by Sirdike to approve business registration conditioned with the compliance with the zoning and planning board, conditions implemented by the zoning and planning board. Maflahe?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Moretti?
Yes.
Sirdike?
Yes.
Morano?
Yes.
Carried 5-0.
Anything further from the city council, old business, whatever? Not Morano moves to adjourn.
Ready, second.
Motion by Morano, second by Moretti to adjourn meeting. Maflahe?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Moretti?
Yes.
Sirdike?
Yes.
Morano?
Yes.
Carried 5-0.
Thank you, everyone. Good night.